Let's update from 1.19.2 to 1.19.3. Alright, we find ourselves back on SKILLSHARE once more, and in this tutorial we're going to be updating our Fabric 1.19.2 tutorial mod to 1.19.3. There are going to be, I believe, one or two things that are not going to be properly added, and that is the custom, no, not the custom villager, but the custom village. So the villager edition right here. This one won't work, and I believe something in the block entity doesn't work. However, all of the rest should work properly, hopefully. So let's begin. Now, the first step is, of course, to go into our Gradle properties file and to actually change the dependencies and everything. For this, we can just go to FabricNet develop over here. And this is basically all that we need, right? In 1.19.3, we got the yarn mappings, we got the loader version, and we got the API version. So let's just copy this over. This is, of course, going to be linked in the description below. And if you're, watching this in the future, which is very likely, then you might actually want to get newer versions of this as well. So just go to the develop site and then you should be fine. So this is step number one. However, there's one more thing, and that is in the build.gradle file. We actually want to change the snapshot here, the Loom version, to 1.0, if I recall correctly. Let's double check. Yes, 1.0. And that should pretty much be all that we need. So then let's click the reload Gradle changes. It's going to build, it's going to download all sorts of stuff, and it's going to ruin all of our classes because, well, 1.19.3 introduces a boatload of changes. Let's just be patient, let this run through, and then once this is done, we can see what we have to change. And there we go, build successful in 1 minute 42 seconds. That's absolutely perfect. Now, as this reloads, we're going to see, especially when we go, for example, in the mod items class, that, a few things do not add up. There's a few things that don't work. No worries, we're going to get through all of them. However, first of all, we need to talk about our dependencies. Because, of course, our tutorial mod right here depends on a few things. Number one, Gecolib, which is actually very, very important because that is like our whole entity stuff. Then we have the Team Reborn Energy API that we're using, and we also have the Reborn Core and Tech Reborn for testing purposes here as the mod implementation. And then, last but not least, we also have this, which is the Village Editions. This one right here, the Structurized Reborn mod. So this one, we sadly have to completely axe because I was not able to get the 1.19.3 version to work. Sadly, this is just the case. If you're going to be able to get it to work, absolutely no worries. You can, of course, take a look at that at the video once again. The GitHub repository will be linked in the description there. Anyway, let's then go with Gecolib first. So let me just get this here. So Gecolib has been updated to version 4. So if we go to the installation right here, you can see Fabric 1.19.3 is now 4.03. So that is actually the version that we want to update to. So 1.19.3. 4.03, there you go. And then when it comes to Tech Reborn and Reborn Core, you can just go to the files and then just take a look. 1.19.3, this is Fabric, and then you just hover over this, and at the bottom left corner, you can see the numbers right there, and that's the numbers you have to put in right here. So this is this number right here. Let me just copy it over from the thing that I've already done. So they are sadly out of sync, which is, I don't like it, but, it is what it is. And then the Energy API has been updated to 2.3.0, and that should be pretty much all that you need here. And this should be all of the dependencies. Now, Gecolib 4 is going to break a lot of stuff for us. This is basically the same updating process that everything else is. So let's just load the changes and then let's, let this run through, right? The build, gonna download all of the dependencies. Let's hope that everything's going to work, but I'm pretty sure that it will. And then we can go from top to bottom and go through everything and just, well, fix everything. There we go, 13 seconds, beautiful, and everything should be fine. And so now we have the Gecolib right here, but let's ignore this and actually go from top to bottom so we can see eggplant crop, absolutely no worries. We got the gem infusing station block. This works, and this works. So all of the custom block classes all work. That's beautiful. The first thing that's going to start is in the entity renderer, because the vector 3F does now no longer exist. And what you might say is, well, I mean, that probably still exists. Yes, it does actually. So there is a new vector 3F from org.jaml that they're now using. However, that does not give you the positive Z and then translate it to a quaternion, which is really annoying because what we have to use is we have to use rotation axis dot positive Z. Let me just double check. This is positive X right here, dot rotation. And then there you go. And then that's what we need to use. And then here, of course, instead of the positive X, we need to use positive Y. Oh, Jesus, that's not what I want. There you go. And then this is rotation. There you go. And then we could just delete this, and there we go. All of the changes, or let's say like the code, of course, is all in the description below, linked in the GitHub repository. Highly suggest taking a look at that. You can, of course, also go through with me. However, I might be a little bit faster here because there's a lot of things that we have to get through. So I highly recommend checking out the GitHub repository. Right here, you might find this. The registry is now in a different package. So when you have registry, you just click on it, Alt and Enter, import class, and then that should be fine. And then this one no longer works because while it is registry.register, what you pass in is now registries from NetMinecraft registry, and then that should work fine as well. Control-Alt-O to delete imports that are no longer valid, and then there you go. That should be that. And then we get to the ModBlocks class, which is going to be absolutely freaking insane, but no worries at all. We're going to get through this. So first of all, the OR block has changed to the experience dropping block, but that is pretty much all that we need here. So we just need to change the name. There we go, beautiful. And then we only have the registry stuff again. So let's import this, Alt and Enter. And then this is once again registries. You can see block, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then the last thing is the tab or the group, right? The item group. How does the freaking item group work? Well, it is a little bit more complicated now, but regardless, it's actually not that crazy. We can keep both of those methods over here. Just the register block item method changes a little bit. I'm just going to copy over the new one, and we're going to look at them side to side. So you can see here, we're just returning the registry item, right? So we're doing registry.register, and we're immediately returning it. And then instead of doing that, what we're actually just doing here, right, is we're just saying, okay, just save this as an item. And then we're using the item group events modify entry. We're using the tab that is passed in, and we're registering a new entry. That is all that we really need to do for the block to be added. Now, this will only add it to one item group right here. You know, if you're a little bit more advanced in Java, which is, you know, hopefully a thing that if you've gone through the entire Fabric tutorial series, I would hope that that's the case. Then you could figure out very easily how to, you know, change this. You can make like multiple tabs right here. You could put in multiple tabs. You could make a separate method. There's a million different ways that you could possibly add this differently. However, for the time being, for our use case, this is absolutely going to be enough, right? We only really want our blocks to be added to one item group in this case. However, you could add them to multiple ones if you really wanted to. Right, so let's delete this, and there we go. Now we just need to clean the imports. Once again, Control-Alt-O, and that would be it. Now the ModBlocks class is done. Fine. Let's continue along. First, HUD overlay. We have the get position text shader. This is one of the things that has changed. However, it is actually not too bad. We get the get position text shader. This is just if you put in get position text. This is the get position text program, I believe. At least this is what I've been using, and it seemed fine. So that's, you know, if you've got any more, so this should probably be fine. Let's just close a few things, and then let's go to the data gen. And the data gen has also significantly changed. However, what we're going to do is we're going to not change the data gen for a moment, because the data gen is actually going to be very, very important once we get to the world generation. It's all sorts of craziness. So let's jump over the data gen and go into the entity first. And this is all of the changes for GeckoLib. Instead of an animated geo model, this is now just a geo model. And the rest here is fine. So Control-Alt-O, and then we can continue with the renderer. Now, instead of a geo entity renderer, this is still a geo entity renderer. It just is in a different place. And also the two methods have changed. So this is now get texture location. And this is now called getRenderType. It is still called getRenderType. However, it looks a little bit different. This is how it looks like. As you can see, we still have the texture here. We don't have the partial ticks anymore. The stack is no longer there, so we actually have to delete this. And there we go. Control-Alt-O to get rid of the imports. And then we can go to the Chomper entity, which, as you can see, has a lot of changes, but no worries at all. So instead of an iAnimatable, it's now a geo entity. This one right here, there you go. And then we actually have to do a lot of things. So first of all, the factory has been changed from animation factory to animatable instance cache. You know, I just still called it factory. And then this is equal to a new single animatable instance cache. So there you go. We can delete this. Then we can continue with, first of all, the factory. So instead of getting a factory, right, you now want to do this, right? So you just want to return the animatable instance cache. And the method is called getAnimatableInstanceCache. The rest here is fine. The only things then are the register the controllers, which are now looking like this. I'm just going to copy this over so you can see, once again, this is the animatable manager.controlRegister. And that's pretty much it. So that's the same method, just renamed basically. And now the predicates over here, they look quite different. So let's start with the attack predicate first. I mean, quite different, but you know. So hand swinging stays the same, but then instead of getting the controller via the event, we're getting it via the state. We're still getting the animation state, and then we're still saying, hey, is this equals to animation controller.state stopped? So this is pretty much the same thing. We're then, instead of saying mark reload, is this now force animation reset? And then we're setting the animation to raw animation.begin, and then we're playing the attack animation once. That is the general idea. Hopefully kind of understandable. It shouldn't be that crazy, like the differences and the changes aren't that crazy. Same here with the move and the walk and the idle animation. Shouldn't be too crazy. And that's actually all that we need. Alt, Control, O, and then the chopper entity should be fine. And then if we go here, this is going to be okay, this is going to be okay. And that's pretty much all of our GeckoLib stuff done. Mod entities, of course, once again, the registry right here. So let's just import this. No, let's import this here. Otherwise, it's not going to work properly. Registries. Here you go. We can delete this. And then that should be our mod entity done as well. Beautiful. What does await us in the events? Nothing, actually. Nothing. All of the events still work perfectly fine. The fluid. I believe there's something wrong in the fluid. Well, first of all, of course, the registry here. But that is like a very, very easy fix over here, so that's not an issue. Now here, of course, we got the group that might be an issue. So for that, I just added another item group event right here. Just deleted the group, and then that should be this, right? So this should be pretty much all that you really need. You can probably do this a little bit more efficiently or better. It really doesn't matter. This should be fine. Control-Alt-O, and there we go. Now the soap water fluid, very interesting. So this has changed. So there's no longer an is infinite in here. However, where the is infinite is inside of the flowing and the still, for whatever reason. I'm unsure about this, like why this is exactly the case. No, I know why this is the case, because this doesn't take in a world. That's why. There you go. Just pass in the world, you doofus. There you go. And now we don't need it here. There, I mean, okay, there you go. That's it. You just have to pass in the world. The reason for this is, of course, because in 1.19.3, lava can now also be infinite. So passing in the world allows you to get the world settings, and you can basically say, hey, you know, is in this world, is lava and is water like infinite? And that's what it usually refers to. But for our purposes, we don't need that. There we go. Item, 8-ball item. Everything is fine. Item group. Oh, baby, the item group. Well, this one is a doozy. So first of all, we just have a public static non-final item group right here. And then what we want is we want a public static void. And we're going to call this the register item group method right here. And what we're going to do is we pretty much need none of this, but let's just do tanzanite is equal to the fabric item group. This is correct. Dot builder with a new identifier. Of course, that's, you know, fairly explainable. That's fairly understandable. Tutorial mod ID and then tanzanite. And then after the second parenthesis, after the second closing parentheses, we're going to say display name. So I'm just going to do text.literal right now. So this is just the literal string. You can also do text.translatable. It is probably better to do that, but right now I'm just going to keep it like this. After the second closing parentheses, .icon, a supplier of a new item stack. And that's going to be what items.tanzanite and then just a build. There you go. And then we can delete this, Control-Alt-O, and that should be fine. So now we have the item group done, and now we can go to the mod items class and do all of this craziness right here. So the craziness here is, first of all, of course, all of the group things have to go, so we can just delete all of them. And then we have to, you know, sort of not like manually, but manually-ish, let's say, actually add the different items to our group. Import the registry class. Let's say registries right here, and that should be that. Control-Alt-O, and then we need two methods, or that's at least how I did it. So first of all, we need the add to item group method. So this is just, you know, calling the item group events over here, you know, just with this group and this item, nothing too crazy. And then I have another method, and that's the add items to item groups. This is the Kaupenjoe written differently. That's okay. There you go. And then this is just called in the register mod items method right here. So we're just saying mod item, add items to item group. So this is just called right there. And this just adds all of our items to our custom item group. You can add them to multiple item groups. So if you wanted to do something like this, so let's just do this and then say item groups dot, let's say ingredients, for example. So this would now add the raw tanzanite and the tanzanite to both the ingredients tab as well as the tanzanite tab. This is a new thing in 1.19.3. You can have your items added to multiple item groups. So that's pretty much all that there's to it. It's really not that complicated because of the really nice event over here. It's actually fairly straightforward. Right, the mod tool material, nothing to change here. Mixin is also all fine. I'm pretty sure that both of those are totally okay. Networking, I am unsure. Let me double check. I think there's something in the example. Yes, the example one doesn't work because I actually don't know. Something here does not work. So what we're just going to do is, because this is just an example, we're just going to ignore it for the time being because this was just the example packet. So we're going to be fine with this. The paintings are just a registry right here. And then, of course, registries right here. Control-Alt-O, and that should be fine. The recipe, I am unsure. This one has nothing. Mod recipes has the registry, of course, once again. And then this is registries. There you go. Same with this one. Control-Alt-O. That's fine. The screen. I think this is where we start to go into some interesting stuff. This is nothing. The fluid stack renderer has this one, the get height, which is now just get Y, which would be the height. Then get ID is get Atlas ID. This is now registries. Yes, and that's it. Control-Alt-O. And the fluid stack renderer should be fine as well. Great. The other ones have nothing. This one has nothing. This one has nothing. The gem infusing screen has normal. Okay, let me double check what this is. The normal over here is now basic. This one was the get position text program, and that's it. That's the screen. Infusing screen handler. Oh, I believe that there's something interesting going on here. So what is this one? Oh, this is the quick move. So the transfer slot method is now just been renamed to quick move. That's all that there is to it. So there's just a rename of the method, and that is it as well. Mod screen handlers, of course, the registry class again. Beautiful. Registries, screen handler. Beautiful. Control-Alt-O, and that should be that. Continuing with the util package, so the fluid stack should be fine. Identity data save is fine. Mod flammable blocks is fine. That's all. Those are all fine. So those have nothing going on here. They're all good. Mod villagers, of course, once again have the registry stuff. Registry key as well. Interesting, yes, because this is now in a different class or a different package as well. This is registries, absolutely. This is now, instead of point of interest key, it's just point of interest type. Yes, nope, .get key. That's what you want to do. I'm pretty sure, yeah, there you go. Registry, import this one, registries, and Control-Alt-O, and that should hopefully be that. And then we get to the world package, which is, of course, always our favorite, because, you know, world generation never changes, right? Wink, wink. Let's first of all do this and delete the imports, and then in the tutorial mod class, let's just comment this out, and then instead of having this, we can say geckolib.initialize, Control-Alt-O. Here, everything should be fine. And then we only have the world and the data gen packages to contend with. So let's just make everything small here. Let's collapse all of them. And then we can take a look at the two relevant packages, which are the data gen stuff and the world stuff. Because this is a rough overview, all of the world generation is now done exclusively via JSON files. Meaning that you can no longer do the stuff that we've been doing. Mainly, as you can see, stuff like this. Registry entry, adding this, you know, doing it like this, and then doing the configure feature.register. All of this stuff no longer works. It is now all done via JSON files. Whether or not this is a good or a bad thing, I will just leave this up to you. I'm not the biggest fan of it. However, luckily, we can do the following. We can actually use pretty much most of this code, even though, you know, you can see that there's a lot of errors here. We can use most of this code to make custom data generators that are actually going to generate those JSON files for us. So really, right, it's just coding with an extra step, to be honest with you. So it's not going to be too bad. Now, I will go through this a little bit quicker probably than you might want to. This is because, number one, we're also going to go through this one more time in the 1.19.3 series. So that's where we're going to go a little bit more deeper dive into this. And second of all, it's a lot, right? So there's a few things, so I will be copying over most of the code. However, the code, once again, is available to you in the description below in the GitHub repository, so you should have no issues going through that, understanding that, and then there you go. So first of all, for all of the configured feature, we now need custom registry keys. So you can see we need a custom registry key for each configured feature. This uses a registry key method. So there's two new methods that we need. We no longer need this method. What we do need is a register key method. You can see that we're making a registry key of type configured feature, and then just with an identifier and the name here. And then we have a register method. This is now later used in a bootstrap method. This basically is for all of the data gen stuff. Roughly speaking, high level overview, right? And then instead of having all of this crap like inside of here, the only thing that we really need inside of here is actually pretty much nothing, because what we're then gonna have is we're gonna have a bootstrap method. Now I'm just gonna type in the bootstrap method here for a moment. You can see this is a registerable of configured feature, and then all of these things go inside of here, inside of the custom register method. So I'm just going to copy over the helper stuff that we need. And the helper stuff is exactly this. So number one, it is a placed feature registry entry lookup. Looks quite complicated, but the general idea is just that, hey, this is just a way for us to look into all of the placed features, because we need to actually reference a few placed features in our configured features, right? Namely, if we double check this one right here, right, our random feature config, right, this has the dogwood checked placed feature reference, and that is something that we want to do with this basically. And then we still have the lists, right? These are the same lists as this one, so that's all fine. We need to do the rule tests manually now, because the rule tests no longer are available as a static, field, which I don't quite understand, but it is what it is. That's fine. And then we get to adding the things. Now, how to add the things? I'm going to add one of them manually, and then I'm going to just copy the rest over. So we want to call the register method that we've made ourselves. Then, as in the context parameter, we want to pass in the key. So this would be the dogwood first, dogwood underscore key, comma, and then this is our dogwood tree right here. We just want to take this and take all of it, like from the feature.tree and all of the rest, just cut it out and paste it in here, and we should have no errors whatsoever. And this is now going to generate, after we've added some data gen stuff, this is now going to generate this exact tree as a JSON file, so that it can be used as a JSON file. And we're going to reference this particular configured feature via the registry key right here. That is the general idea. The rest is now going to just be deleted, and we're just going to copy over the rest, because I've already prepared all of this. And there we go. And you will see that this is, so the only reason this doesn't work yet is because we don't have anything in the mod placed features. No worry, we're going to add this in a moment. But you can see this is the spawn. It's still the random feature config. We have the registration of all of the ORs. It's still an OR feature. The sizes here I found are a little bit weird. I highly recommend for testing purposes to increase both the size right here, and then later in the placed features to increase the number, like the veins per chunk as well, because I found that it was a little weird. Regardless though, this should all be fine. The registry key, that's all good. Let's do Control-Alt-O, and then we should be fine. There's one, oh yeah, of course, because this can now be deleted because we no longer need to call this. And that should be that. In the tree, let's just get this out of here, implement methods, and then here we want to just do mod configured features dot dogwood key, and then that's it. Control-Alt-O, there you go, and that should be that. Mod configured features should be done. We now only need to do the mod placed features, and this is exactly the same idea. So basically, we're gonna have a bunch of keys. So for all of our placed features, we're going to have a registry key. So you can see we got the dogwood placed key, the checked key, and then the ORs, the OR ones, the geode, and the buttercup placed. And this one, I'm just going to copy over pretty much all of it. Let's just copy over all of it. And this is just going to get rid of everything here. And you should be able to see nothing is going on. Control-Alt-O. And then there you go. So once again, we have the bootstrap method. Here we're getting the configured feature registry lookup, because once again, inside of our place features, we do have to reference our configured features, and that's just the way that we do this, right, with the key again. So this is a pretty good idea, or this is actually pretty good because we're just using the key of it. It's not actually going to be an issue because it doesn't have to be registered. That's like once again, like a general idea. And then here, this is what I wanted to say. The veins per chunk, I have found that it's kind of weird. I think that I had this like at 8 or something like that before. I definitely recommend having this a little bit higher for testing purposes, because I found that it was very, very sparse. Like, I don't know, they probably changed like how exactly this works. So there's something to be said about that. Regardless, the rest should be totally fine and should now work, all that. Then just in the gen package, we just have to go through. The entity spawn, of course, works. This one, very interesting. We no longer need to get the key like this. We can just say buttercup placed key, and then that's just going to work. Same with the OR gen, right? Instead of actually doing get key.get, we just say the tanzanite, this is the OR placed key, and then this is the nether placed key, and then this is the end placed key, and then this is the geode placed key. Beautiful and absolutely not difficult at all. Same with the tree, we got the dogwood placed, so let's just do the dogwood placed key. Beautiful. And then here nothing changes because this is just the same thing, and then everything can be closed. And that is actually all of the stuff in the world gen, and now we just need to change it in the data gen, run the data gen once, and then actually see that all of those are also generating. So how does this change? Well, this changes in a couple of different ways. What we actually want to do is we want to make a fabric data generator dot pack, called pack, and this is equal to the generator dot create pack. Actually, create pack, nope, absolutely not. It is actually equal to the fabric data generator create pack. There you go, beautiful. And then instead of calling this directly, we just want to call pack dot add provider. Beautiful. And we just need to go through all of the different classes. So the mod loot tables, this is extending a different class. Instead of the simple fabric loot table provider, this is now using the fabric block loot table provider. There you go. Hover over this, implement the generate method. And then this, instead of all of this craziness, what we just need to do is we just need to do add drop mod blocks dot dogwood planks. So this is doing exactly the same thing as this one, just a little bit easier. And then here, instead of also passing in the block context, we just pass in the data generator, which no longer is a data generator. This is now a fabric output, data output. There you go. Probably rename this as well, data output. There you go. Control Alt O to delete all of the imports, and there we go. So now here you can just add all of the other drops as well. So keep that in mind, right? This was just for demonstration purposes when we made the loot table stuff, and yeah, there you go. So no longer an error here. For the recipe one, let's see what the recipes need. This is the correct one. This just needs a different data output again. So this is the same idea. Data output, and then the method is now just called generate, but I believe that this is fine, and this has to be public, and then we are almost done. The only thing that we also need is we need to add a recipe category. This is recipe category. Let's do building blocks for the sake of argument, and then here, this is after the exporter. We want to have the recipe category building blocks as well. That's fine. And then here, oh yes, and then the second one, we need another recipe category, and that's just going to be decorations. There you go. That should be fine. And then instead of a recipe provider, this is a fabric recipe provider. There you go. And that is all of the changes that we need. Indeed. Oh, do we need a recipe category here as well? Of course. Excuse me, please. Fabric, no, recipe category, miscellaneous. It's going to be fine. There you go. Control Alt O, and that should be fine for the recipes as well. And then the mod model provider, I believe this is just the output. So this is just the data. Nope, absolutely not. This is the data output that we want, and then that is going to solve this as well. Beautiful. Let's change the name here as well, just for the sake of argument. And then those are done. Now, of course, we're not quite done yet, because we want a mod world generator now. So data gen, new Java class, mod world generator. This is how I called it. You can call it whatever you want pretty much, but you know, this is just, I know what this is. And this is a pretty crazy thing. This is a fabric dynamic registry provider. Implement the two methods here. I actually don't know what the name does. I just put in my tutorial mod, the mod ID over here. I'm unsure what exactly this does. This didn't seem to be doing anything, so, you know, but it might be important. I'm unsure. So let's just do the super here. That's fine. And then in the configure, we just want to say entries.add registries.get wrapped or throw registry keys dot configured feature, and then the same thing but with a placed feature. Actually, it is add all. There you go, instead of just add. And then no more errors should be present. We can then go to the mod data generator, class over here, or the generation class, say pack.addProvider mod world generators new. There you go. And then we still need to add the build registry method, and we want to say registry builder.add registry keys.configured feature mod configured features : bootstrap. And then this is exactly how we actually add all of this insanity mod placed features. There you go. So this calls the bootstrap methods, which then basically sort of, adds them to the pack. It's all sorts of complicated craziness. And this has all been new for me as well. So yeah. But this is going to generate it. Now we should have no more errors present, and we should be able to run the data gen first and foremost, because that's going to generate all of our world gen files. So let's just run the data gen and see if this even works, or if there's any errors still present. Now I don't think there shouldn't be any errors present, but sometimes you never know. Let's just let this run through and see if it's going to work. So we did get an exception right here, and that is the netminecraft get ID in group. Okay. Mod blocks. I am unsure why this would be the case. If item group is null. Yes, actually, this is correct, because right here in the very beginning, we need to call mod item group dot register item group. There you go. I've forgotten this, but now, now it should work. This is actually indeed the case. Now it should run through totally fine though. There we go. All providers took however many milliseconds, exactly what you want to see. And now if we go up to the generated folder right here, data, we can see world gen, and we can see the configured features and the placed features. Absolutely beautiful. And basically, right, if we, for example, think back to our configured feature for our dogwood tree right here, right, we have the dogwood, the block state provider here, and the straight trunk placer, and like the foliage placer and stuff like that, right? If we just like look at this and sort of remember it, okay, yeah, it's like a 563, like 20, whatever, right? And then we go into the configured feature for our dogwood spawn, I believe. No, this should not be the case. Do we not have a dogwood one as well? Oh, it's called red maple. Well, that is okay, this should be dogwood. Okay, that's a typo right there, but that's okay. That's not too bad. This is still the tree, and you can see basically this is the dirt provider, right? It's dirt. And then we have the blob foliage placer. We have the dogwood leaves over here. We got the 2-layer feature. We got the straight trunk placer 563. It is exactly what we've done right here, right? So this is exactly this, just in a JSON file. Right, and that is actually all that we need to do. Now you've seen that this is still quite an involved process, because it is always the case. Let's just hope that next minor versions are not going to be as insane as this, because if they are, well, we just need to figure something out, because that is going to be absolutely bonkers. Anyway, run client, and let's see if Minecraft works, and Minecraft should work. Alrighty, so I highly recommend, of course, making a new world, and we can actually see thirst already works, so that's all fine and well. Let's go here. Tanzanite item group. All of our items are added absolutely beautifully. Let's just take a look at the soap water, for example. Here, just for the sake of argument, it still bounces me. And we still have this, so that's pretty good indeed. The sword still looks like a sword. Beautiful. The item, the 8-ball, still gives me a number. This is also great. Now, let's also do the following. Let me get the night vision over here. And then let's go down, and we should be able to find... I already spotted it. There it is. Some tanzanite over here. So this also spawns. That's beautiful. Let's then go to locate biome plains. Absolutely. Let's just go up and let's see. Our trees are also spawning. They are indeed. This is the dogwood log. So the trees are also spawning. Let's also double check the chomper, because that one I actually have not checked, but it should be fine. I believe it was hunting creepers, I'm pretty sure, right? So if we just like add a creeper here, it should attack the creeper, I think. I think that was the thing that it has. Well, I mean, if not, then it's going to attack me at least. Let me go to survival. And there it is. Nice. Okay, yeah, all of it. I mean, perfect. That's absolutely great. This, I pretty much think that's all of it. Ah, yeah, the gem infusing station. So when it comes to the block entity, what I found is that the energy, for whatever reason, that does not display properly anymore. That is the one thing I was not able to fix. However, it seems like a very minor thing for the time being. You can see the rest. So you can see if I set this up, right, we have 0 energy right now. And if I just, this is now making energy, you can see it always stays at 32. I am unsure as to why this is the case. However, in the background, it actually is properly doing it, because if I just wait for a moment, right, we're just gonna like let this run in a little bit, and then if I put in the raw Tanzanite right here, you can see it is working. It just doesn't display the energy properly. But you know, this is like one of the things that should not be too insane. I just haven't been able to like properly actually look at this. Apparently the rotation here is a little bit off, but overall we're in 119.3, which is pretty freaking awesome. So that should be pretty much all that we need. Right, and that's it for this tutorial right here. Hope you found this useful and you learned something new, and I'll see you all in the next tutorial. So yeah.